On today's episode of MRTriton, we're installing an ARB Summit bar. So if you watched my best bull bar for your MRTriton video that I released a few months back, you'll know that we determined through our analysis and investigation, as well as user research, that the ARB Summit bar is the best bull bar for your MRTriton. Therefore, we've bought an ARB Summit bar. What we're going to do on today's episode is we're going to do an installation of this bull bar. I'm going to try and capture as much of the installation process as I can. So if you've ever installed a bull bar, you will know that it's quite an involved process. What we've got over there is we've got a box that's full of nuts, bolts, brackets, screws, and all sorts of things. It's not just about slapping the bull bar on. So what we're going to do, the hardest part of this installation, I will predict right now, will be cutting this front bumper. There's a few things that are going to be complicating this process throughout the installation, one of which is my split front bumper. For this reason, I was going to purchase a bull bar like the PIAC bull bar, which is a full replacement for the front bumper. However, I decided to go with the ARB because Aussie made, Aussie designed, Aussie owned, and it's a better quality product. We'll work around it. Now, I spoke to ARB technicians who do the installation. They either use some kind of an air cutting tool. They also said that you can use a jigsaw with a fine metal blade. I've got a fine metal blade, so we'll use that through our installation today. So the first step of the installation process is to remove the 11 screw nuts from the radiator panel. Remove the number plate from the vehicle and retain, so don't throw away your number plate. So we've removed the two wheel liners on the right and left side of the vehicle. Now we've got to remove the bash plate so we can get underneath the bumper. Alright, let's pull out the panel access screw. Now on the other side I actually crashed into a sand dune and lost the other one, so I've only got one now, so half the work. Next. Getting this up close and personal for my front bumper really puts into perspective how bad a shape it's in and why you really do need a bull bar if you are serious about off-roading in an MRTriton. This thing is in terrible shape. Splits, grazes, cuts. Get a bull bar as soon as you can. So now we're just going to carefully remove the front bumper from the body of the vehicle. Get off your bar. The chin is officially gone. Officially gone. The chin, finally. If you've ever wondered what an MRTriton looks like without a bar, it looks like that. But I never realised that I'd actually collapsed this front, crumble zone panel, whatever you want to call it. And look at that. The intercooler's seen a fair bit of action too. Now, this installation process is made way simpler because I've got a GLX. There's no sensors around the front of the vehicle whatsoever. If you've got a GLS or a higher spec model with the front sensors as well, your job's going to be a little bit more difficult. You've got to detach the sensors, mark where they're supposed to go, etc. With the GLX, no sensors, just pull the bumper off, it's hollow. So what we've got to do now is we've got to cut the radiator air deflectors on the front, right and left sides. And as you can see, it didn't need to mark it, just cut straight off. It worked fine. It's just a piece of plastic. Now, I've got to remove the impact absorber from the crash beam. As you can see, I've caved in the impact absorber. So what I'm going to do is really bend this back out. So this was actually quite easy to bend. It just tore like a Coke can, so easy, no worries. So we chuck away the bracket, we keep the nuts. So the installation of this bar isn't all positives. This is the stock washer bottle, this is the aftermarket washer bottle. So what you trade off for approach angle and front vehicle protection, you also trade dust protection for the front of your car. If you've got your windshield caked up with dust because you're doing some outback tracks, be prepared that this is going to go empty quicker, so you've got to be aware that you're going to need to fill this up way more often when you're using your windscreen wipers and squirters on those dusty tracks. Just going to reinsert this grommet into the new bottle. Now again, with the GLX, you've got the benefit of not having front cameras and lamps as well, so that's not relevant for this part of the build. We're going straight on to, well, skipping heaps of this part, we're going straight onto the washer bottle. So you remove the washer bottle. If you've got a GLS or higher spec model, you gotta obviously relocate all the sensors. Because I don't have that, we skip forwards to the installation of the new washer bottle. Disconnect the old washer bottle pump with the new washer bottle pump. So we're assembling the mounting bracket for the washer bottle. So with the installation of the washer bottle, once you've mounted the new washer bottle, you discard the old scrivet and use a new ARB provided Christmas tree insert, whatever you call it. So that's quite an ordeal and took quite a while. Basically, you've got to rewire the loom that goes to the pump for the windscreen wiper washer. Let's double check that it works, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to wire up the loom for the indicator. So we've spliced on the aftermarket indicator wiring to the existing indicator wiring loom, solder it up, replace the connection with this connection. That way when we actually install the indicator to the bull bar, we can use this connection. They'll be adaptable. One thing I recommend is if you're going to install ARB bull bar by yourself, make sure you have a basic understanding of 12 volt so you can cut, splice, solder. So we've just finished up the wiring test for the indicators and daytime running lights. We're just going to plug it all in and see if it works. Then if it works, we'll solder it. Alright, so here we are, day 2, round 2. It's a little bit windier today, so the audio hopefully won't lose too much quality, but you'll probably hear there's a little bit of wind getting around. So what we did last night, we ended up, obviously, yesterday, we fully stripped the front of the vehicle. We removed and cut a few things. We've wired up the indicators and such. The next step from here is we need to mark out and cut up the front bumper. This is a piece or the section of this installation that I've not really been looking forward to because as you can see right here, we've got the splits on the side of the bumpers. But what we're going to do is we're going to use a jigsaw with a steel blade, nice fine teeth that should give us a nice clean cut. And either way, the cuts are going to be covered up by the little lip, whatever you want to call it. There's like a cover that you put on top of it. The installation kit comes with this big old box full of goodies. So you'll find that you've got to reach in and out and try and grab little bits and bobs as you need them. There's a big old bag of bolts in there too, so you've got to sort through the little assortment of nuts and bolts and things. And these are the templates. They come folded up, we'll unfold them, stick them to the front bumper, and we'll cut it. Let's get stuck into it. So here are the templates. You just basically got to do a couple of little cuts and get rid of the excess. Get off the paper, man. No, out. Alright, so now we're just going to tape this chopped up template onto the bumper. So now we're just going to remove the indicators and the daytime running lights from the front bumper prior to cutting. And the other part of this as well is we need to discard the black lamp cover before we cut because that'll just get in the way. It's worth noting that we're in my shed right now because it's decided to bucket down and wind like crazy. That's one off. So we've gone and we've marked the front bumper. We're basically at the point now where we're ready to cut the front bumper. Now, unfortunately, the template that ARB gives you is a bit weird. It doesn't really seem to line up very well. I must be missing something here. So we're going to go through, we're going to cut the bumper and we'll see how things start to look and follow the instructions for the next step. Alright, so we've finally cut the front bumper. It's looking okay so far. We're not really going to know until we go to install the front bumper. It looks like it's been done to spec. So what we'll do is we'll quickly just mock up the installation a bit, see how the top of the front bumper merges or fuses with the bull bar itself. Any little mess ups we'll tidy up along the way. So to me that looked like it sat pretty good. We'll see. Let's go. Next step. So what we've done is we've just put the blank sections supplied by ARB onto the front bumper. We just need to apply the pinch weld, which is the strip that covers up your cut marks, cut lines, whatever. Then we'll refasten the bumper to the body of the vehicle. So if you soak these pinch welds in warm water, they're way bendier. So we're now just going to install the ARB bracket for the front bumper. So we use the existing screws here. You apply the OEM nuts to it, and then yeah, on with the bracket on both sides. So what we need to do is, with the bracket that we've just put onto the body of the vehicle, the kit comes with these little grommets. So what you do is you insert the grommets on the rectangle or square on the bracket, and then once it's in, basically the grommet is plastic, and so it allows you to screw a threaded screw into this. We're really battling the weather right now with this installation. Look at this. It's been bucketing down on and off. The wind has been insane. It's been a real arduous journey, but we're getting through it. So as you can see, what we've done is we've cut the bumper, we've installed the blanks where the light used to be, we've installed the plastic edging. It's all on, the brackets are on, this is screwed in with the grommets in. We're at a stage now where we just need to start installing, bolting on some of the bracketry that will support the bar when it's actually on. So we need 2 of these SAM screws, 2 flange nuts, we need 2 of these M12 3.5 or 35 bolts, 2 M12 washers and 2 M12 flange nuts. Alright, so pack her in. And repeat that same process on the other side of the vehicle. Now, once this bracket's on the right side, you want to basically mirror the same process on the left hand side. However, the exception, on the right hand side of the vehicle you've got this style toe point, which has a hole conveniently already there. On the left hand side we have a different style of toe point. So what we need to do is we need to drill a 12.5mm hole in this toe point to enable us to fit the outside bracket. Correction, 16mm. Alright, so next step here, we've got the mounting brackets fastened to the chassis. We need to drill 8 11mm diameter holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 more on the other side into the chassis. That way we can make sure the brackets are nice and secure. And then on to the next step. It's important to note also that we only want to drill through the front face of the crash beam. We don't want to go all the way through. Now what we've done also is we've put on some touch-up paint on the areas that we've just drilled into the chassis. Some of you guys are going to freak out about the fact that I used white paint on the black chassis and bracket. You're not going to see it. It's function over form, I guess you'd say. So it's going to stop my car from rusting. And that's my priority. Yes, I could go to shops and buy some paint, but I've got this paint here, why wouldn't I just use it? I'd wondered what these were the entire time. they're nut plates. So what we want to do is we do insert the nut plates inside the empty end of the hollow end of the crash beam, and basically screw one of these SEM screws into that. Brackets are done, wiring harnesses are done, holes are drilled, things are painted, bolts are in. We're at the exciting part now where we get to apply, install, whatever, the accessories on the bar itself. So that includes the grille, lights, etc. Because I didn't get the winch, I got the winch blanking plate. Basically sits in there, covers up the winch hole so it looks nice and tidy. Don't get all the crap coming up in your winch hole. You don't necessarily need one, it's only about 60 bucks extra. Yeah, so when I put a winch on later, this will be coming off. So today is the third day of our installation. It doesn't take 3 days to install this bull bar, but I've just decided to take it easy and do it over 3 days because I'm doing some filming as well. So it's been a bit of a lengthy process. So here's where we're at. We've got the bull bar ready to go. We've got the bracketry all applied to the chassis. We've painted it. Now what we need to do is we need to try and get the bull bar to slide nicely onto the brackets. Unfortunately, that might mean that we have to loosen off some of our torqued up bolts. But that's okay. We just need to jiggle around and try and get the spacing between the two chassis brackets a distance apart. That will allow us to slide that bull bar on, insert the bolts, and torque everything up. Some considerations at this point: we need to make sure that I've cut the bumper in the right way. Also, ARB only gave me 2 lengths of this lip liner, whatever they call it. So I've only been able to do the inside parts of the bar. Unfortunately, what that means is that the outer section of this is not lined. So what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to have to go somewhere like Clark Rubber and grab some more. That way I can sort of make it look nice and finished. It's good though that at this stage I haven't put that on yet, because basically on the outside I may still need to trim this a little bit depending on how accurately by the template I did the cutting. In all though, it's been a pretty fun process, quite lengthy though. You'd be surprised the small things that you have difficulty with. I don't have fog lights in this car. I've got the fog light shrouds, which is basically like a blank for where the fog lights would go. They were really difficult to actually install. Something about the bracket, it's really fiddly. There's a lot of fiddly things about this installation process and a lot of little time consuming things. Even installing this front grille here comes in a full length, a standard length. You've got to cut it, you've got to put in some little washers and nuts and screws and things. It took a little while to do that. But in all, we're at the point where we're going to put the bar on today, so let's get stuck into it. Right, now we're just connecting up the indicator loom, so that's all clipped together. And we'll test whether they work and whether I connected the right to the right and the left to the left. Alright, so the right indicator is good. Left indicator is good. That's a good thing. So normally these little connections would be sort of connected into the front bumper. Obviously front bumper is no longer there. So what we're going to do is we're going to cable tie these up nice and tight, and then we're basically going to cable tie it up into the back of the bar so it's nice and protected. There's way more cable than we need, but that's just the way that your cables look when you apply the extension. I don't necessarily know that they need a loom extension, but obviously they believe so, so here we are. This here is the stone guard, and the stone guard needs to go on like this. In order to do so, we have to install these little cage nuts into the bottom of the bull bar. It's essentially applying a thread to a hole. That way we can screw or bolt the stone guard to the bull bar. So that's the stone guard installed. First thoughts are that it's a little bit thin. Yeah, like 1 or 2 mil, if that, of light steel. I can think of many scenarios where I've been off-roading and sort of come up to a rocky approach, and I think I'm going to end up denting that stone guard, but time will tell. So we're now installing the wing guards. So basically what we need to do is we need to take some of these cage nuts again, insert them into these holes, as we did with the stone guard, and then that's the wings done. Unfortunately, because of the bull bar mounting brackets, we've got to trim the bash plate. Just need to trim the corner off here. So unfortunately the last few scenes that I filmed of the bull bar installation corrupted, but there really wasn't much more to show, just that top radiator cover installation section. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a massive video. It was about 3 hours of footage condensed into about a 20-something minute video. Stay tuned for one of the following videos, which will be an ARB Summit bar walk around as well as a visual comparison. So we're going to use some old footage we've taken of the MRTriton with the stock front bumper going up some aggressive approach angles, and we're going to compare that with some new footage that we'll take of the ARB with Summit bar going up those aggressive approaches. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you leave a subscription and we'll see you in the next one.